It's Tom Albright with AVNation with an AVNation special, taking a look at the SCN Hall of Fame for 2020. And with me today is an old, well, not old friend. We're not old. A longtime friend, Joey D'Angelo from DNA. Welcome, sir.
Hey, it's good to see you, Tim. Great to be here.
Good to see you. Congratulations on making it into the SCN Hall of Fame. So for this year, and you and I get to join it together. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a tremendous honor. The group that's going into the whole Hall of Fame is just an amazing group of people, and we've all been chatting, and the thing that I keep saying is, it's an amazing group of people, but the AV industry as a whole is an amazing group of people, and we are all just very lucky to be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let kind of walk through. We mentioned the fact that you're the owner of Joey Joseph D'Angelo and Associates, commonly called DNA. Let's walk through though a couple of your trek to get here. Right, you didn't start out owning your own company, owning your own firm. You've gone through a number of different places, and your experiences and some of the jobs that you've been a part of have been quite remarkable. Where did you start out? Like, how did you get into the industry?
It's a great story. It's almost a fairy tale because it's the luckiest of luck. But I grew up in Bakersfield, California, and I got an old Jeep when I was a teenager, and you take the top off and you can't hear the radio. So I saved up I worked in this warehouse driving forklifts and pallet jacks and dealing with damaged pallets as they came through this distribution center. And in the 110-degree heat, it was no fun. And I saved up a bunch of money, and I went to Circuit City, and I built a subwoofer enclosure, and I bought an amp for the subwoofer, and I watched the car audio installer in the bay there on the back of the Circuit City install it. And then a couple of weeks went by, and I was like, I think I want to move the amp over here. And I rewired it. And, the next thing I knew, I was doing a stereo for my friend, in my parents' garage, and then his friend's friend. And before we knew it, I had a waiting list of like 3 months for car stereo work in Joey's garage. And then I graduated high school, and I started at school at Cal State Bakersfield, and a guy in Bakersfield opened a stereo shop called Mobile Audio Concepts, and he called me up and said, I want you to be one of my installers. I was like, this is great. I can make money for school and like work, and I just kept going at that hobby. It was a hobby. I loved it. It was just all I wanted to do was build speaker boxes and wire stereos and all that. And I started building some show cars. I built a car that was in the Tokyo Auto Show. I built cars for MTX. That's how I got to know John Ivey and Lloyd Ivey and those guys. For the Consumer Electronics Show, I built a demo vehicle for Scotia and LA Sound for another Consumer Electronics Show. And then I got accepted to Cal Poly, and I went up to, we were doing a car show in Tascadero, and the owner of a stereo shop in San Luis Obispo got to talk to me. I was like, well, I got accepted to Cal Poly. He's like, do you want a job? Because we left with 3 first place in the best of show that day. And so I had a job in San Luis Obispo, and I was working on an industrial technology degree from Cal Poly. And one day at the stereo shop in San Luis Obispo, I put a stereo in the car, none other than Ethan Salter, Charles Salter's son. And Ethan went home, and he came back from some holiday, and he was like, my dad wanted to know who did this and when you graduate. And right about then, I was an IASCA world champion, and then 1996 world champion. And I took like 15th out of 30, but I was like 22, had no money. It was all sponsored. MTX sponsored me. And when I got that, I said, okay, hobby complete, finishing degree. And I was going to interview with Salter on spring break that year, and hopefully graduate. And I kid you not, I was walking out the door to go follow Ethan up to Lafayette in the East Bay to go interview with Salter in San Francisco, and my phone rang. I had applied at Monster Cable, and the gentleman on the phone was like, we want a college degreed individual with an engineering background and a car audio background to manage the owner of the company's fleet of exotic vehicles. You'll get to drive them all over, keep them up to date with all the latest, greatest stuff, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, I'll be in touch. And then I went up and interviewed at Salter, and I found out about AV consulting. And I was like, this is me. And I'd never been to a big city like that before. So I was just, they were like, this will be your office. I was like, I'm going to get an office. Like, it was just the
okay,
most.
Pause, hang on, pause for a second here. Now you're what, 22, 23 years old?
Yeah.
I understand. Joey's roughly the same age I am, right? So this is 90s-ish, right?
Yeah.
And you're in the middle of, so that you're going to be able to drive around the head of Monster, Mr. Lee's cars. And you're 20 something, and Monster Cable at that time, this is before Beats, this is before anything else like that, but they were still a pretty heavy hitter, especially in the world of consumer electronics. You took an office job over that. Understand what you're saying. What you're saying here. You took an office job over that. What was that decision like?
It was hobby complete. I was like,
okay,
if I had to, like, installing car stereos in Bakersfield in 110-degree heat, we had an amazing shop and everything, but swamp coolers, and it's hard work, man. My back is messed up to this day, and it was like, you do something until you feel like, you've satisfied that urge. And when I met Charlie, and I saw their offices and the projects they worked on, I mean, like, I walk into the lobby of Salter and there's a picture of Lucasfilm's technical building right there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is the next level. This is where I need to go to continue challenging myself. And San Francisco was amazing, for a 22, 23-year-old kid to just be able to move up there. And I mean, I'd never been in a big city like that before. I mean, San Francisco is not a big city, but it's got that big city vibe to it, and which is tremendously exciting. So yeah, I loved it. And I graduated in June of '98 and started working there like 13 days later. They were really busy and needed help. And I had taken CAD classes in high school. I took all 4 years in high school. I took drafting. And then the last year we got I think Exxon, Bakersfield is a big oil company in Kent Town. They donated a CAD workstation to our drafting class. And, I got to learn CAD in high school. And then at my major at Cal Poly, they made us take a CAD class. And, I started at Salter, and, consulting in the late 90s, and we still use blueprints and vellum and, bike messengers to deliver all of our sets, and a fax machine to deliver all of our memos, and before email. And it was cool because I was like, okay, we got to do these drawings, like this. We got to make them better. We got to do this. And, it was just really fun. And I didn't know there were bike messengers, but it was a lot of fun. And everybody that worked there were just amazing people. You felt like you were working. Everybody who worked there had been there for 10, 15, 20 years. Nobody left. Everybody was happy. So you just felt like you were home when you went to the office. And I always felt that way.
Let's kind of talk about some of those jobs, because you were there for a long time. I mean, you quite frankly, you've had, fewer jobs than the average Gen Xer. Let's just put it that way. You mentioned the fact that the picture of Lucasfilms there in the lobby, you had a hand in a number of jobs that are, remarkable and still people point to this day. Talk about the ones that you can. Obviously, sometimes in our industry, we have to sign NDAs and not disclose some things that we worked on. But what's one or two that you can talk about that are still feathers in your cap?
Everybody always talks about the Juniper Networks projects, and how we used SVSI and did that whole network AV thing.
One of the first, the biggest SVSI deployments at the time. Yeah.
2011. That was a career wager right there. It either was going to work or it was going to fail miserably times 350. But that to me doesn't really stick out as the most challenging thing. I did a project for Sandia National Laboratories, and it was a visualization design center. And it was this super high resolution rear projected curved video wall. And the opportunity came to me. I can't remember how I got the project, but it was someone recommended me for it. And they said, hey, have you ever done anything like this? And I hadn't, but I knew I could because I craved the challenge. I said, so I said, I've got a lot of experience with rear projection and whatnot, but my approach is different. I'm very hands-on, drawings. And it just turned out great. It was the most amazing project. And we had like shootouts for projectors and for projection screen framing systems. And some back in the heyday of rear projection, everybody had, their little special sauce that fins, Fresnel and lenticular coatings and, all this stuff. And we had this shootout at the Salter offices with like 10 different companies and 10 different projectors, and everybody at the office was like, what's going on here? And so that turned out really good, and it made the cover of SCN years ago. So that was really fun, but I learned that, with the help that's available and the people that work with you and together with you at the manufacturers and the integrators, AVI SPL built that one. They were just SPL back then, but
wow.
We were tremendously successful. And you can, as long as you're not afraid to pick up the phone, engage with people, ask for help, and do hard work, you can get through these things. And one of the challenges of that one was that they have classified and non-classified, video that could be used. And a lot of times they'll just build a classified room and it's all the video is just classified. But sometimes they build either or rooms. And if you have unclassified video cables, they had to be 6 inches away, or I can't remember what. Yeah, 6 inches away from, non-classified video. And they had to be separated. So we had this raised access floor, and we had to design a tray system to keep all the classified and unclassified. And we're about 3/4 of the way done with that. And I figured out, wait a minute, these inputs at the table could be either or, because they would connect either a classified laptop or an unclassified laptop. So then we had to have individual runs that were 6 inches away from every other run. And we were able to design all that in 3D under the raised access floor and bring it back to the rack rooms. But then we had to bring those cables up into the rack and connect to the matrix switcher, which was cleared for passing classified, unclassified, or either or. So we modeled the cables coming up out of the floor into the rack. And I have pictures and I still have the 3D drawing. AVI SPL built that rack exactly the way we modeled that rack. And fast forward to today, we have Revit families for cables, and we're doing drawings where we're modeling all the cabling. And I just did a big video wall, and there was 2,748 feet of Cat6 that weighed a total of, 732 pounds or something like that. And it was right on our drawings, and the structural engineer was like, "Are you kidding me?" And so we're for me, it's always been about the drawings. And that's been the challenge in the consulting world. You can do really good drawings and spend a lot of time doing drawings and marking up drawings. Or you can spend a lot of time going to meetings and doing this. And so striking a balance and using modern technology to provide better documentation is my thing. And, we could dedicate a whole show to that. But I don't know.
Absolutely. We can. And I want to kind of get into it because and you made the transition from Salter. You had a stint at QSC, and then you started DNA, right? And I don't want to gloss over that transition, but one of the things that in knowing you and watching your work, you and I chatted, oh good Lord, right as the lockdowns happened, right? I think it was right around March or April, you were already doing remote kind of punch lists through with robots and or one single technician on site, but you were able to look at your drawings and compare what you were seeing in the real world remotely through Zoom and through some other video conferencing. Talk about that necessity and how your drawings and how you're able to create the documentation that allows that to happen, because without that you'd be flipping through and looking at 4 or 5 different revisions of something with handwritten notes while somebody's remotely walking you through a job site.
Yeah. Well, we okay, so we have a software platform that we developed in-house that's based on Unity. And I don't know if you've heard of Unity for construction or whatnot, but Unity is where we're going after Revit. Revit is very expensive, very hard to use, very hard to learn, and it's not getting any easier. And there's a growing movement in the AEC community, the architectural engineering construction community, to get away from that. And Unity is the platform that I understand is what they make video game worlds out of. So think about it. It's graphics, it's high res, really fast. I mean, it takes me 15, 25 seconds to open up a drawing in Revit. If I'm working on a 997 room project, which we are right now, just opening 997 sheets, because we do a sheet for every room, is insane. So we've drank that Kool-Aid, and as a first step, we still have to work in Revit because all of our clients work in Revit. But we built this program, and you create projects, you create rooms in the projects, and you add devices to the project. And our Revit drafters, they're all based offshore in Cairo, and we incidentally pay them the same as our Revit drafters here in the States. They love it, and they're the best.
Sure.
They're the best. It's incredible. But that platform tells them, hey, you need to make a Revit family for this. But when you add a device to a system that doesn't exist in our inventory, you have to add in all the data for it: heat load, weight, dealer price, street price, MSRP.
Oh, wow.
So the cut sheet, blah, blah, blah. So they have all the information to make the Revit families. And then they have a list of everything that goes in each room, and that's what it goes on each sheet. And then the program does a bunch of stuff. And I don't want to divulge secrets, but it automates about 90% of the work that a consultant has to do. And it creates the drawing sheets for our Revit drafters. It places all the families into the sheets. They need to place the families where they belong in the room. Then we have a markup tool, and it's really great. But we have all the data for everything, and it also creates a scripted punch list for us automatically. And there is no hiding from installation errors, because the data is producing a scripted punch list, and it all gets tested. So we can, if the room is ready to be commissioned, then presumably you could zoom into a room or dial into a room, or whatever software codec of the month you're using.
Yeah.
You can ping things, and you can work your way through a punch list remotely, or you can have it demonstrated to you. So that's something we've been doing. But we're part of the construction industry, so we're an essential group of workers, so we can still go on site. And all the construction sites and that in the construction industry as a whole have been very diligent about COVID procedures and testing and all that. So we still get out on job sites a lot. But the meat and potatoes of commissioning remotely is there for us. There's a lot of stuff going on in our company.
Well, and you've used, kind of, you mentioned the fact that your kind of your leading edge on stuff is the documentation, has been your entire career. You use that and kind of put that into, the foundation of DNA, and that's proving, some pretty significant fruits, because you guys are able to do and develop your own, your own processes and your own software that helps you do your job, but in the end of the day also helps serve your client a little bit,
we
hopefully
have
better than,
Yeah, we have to do the software thing, because if we don't, we'll go broke. I mean, if you saw our drawings, everything is dimensioned, everything is keynoted. There's cut sheets to everything. The schematic, the functional diagrams are as close to an as-built level of documentation as we can get them. It's over the top. That's our thing. And if we want to make a profit, we have to automate as much as we can. And we're blessed to have some really smart people, one of which should get into the Hall of Fame next year. And he's in my Hall of Fame, that's for sure. But
there we go.
You know,
so
yeah.
So as we kind of wrap this up, and I mentioned the fact that you and I are roughly the same age. There is a gentleman who is younger than us getting in this year, Jeremy Caldera, and we'll talk to him at another later date. He'll get his own show, so I don't want to spend too much time on this. But you look at it kind of, you know, where folks like you and I sit, and we're kind of in the middle of our careers, right? I mean, I'm not saying that we have as much time behind us as in front of us, but there's a good there's some truth to that, right? So let's sit back for a second, right? Sit back and enjoy, you know, not just this, but enjoy kind of where you're at. But look back at you know, roughly 20 some odd years, but you know, look ahead. And I'm not going to ask you to look ahead 20 years because that's just silly. But look ahead a year and a half, 2 years, because as we're recording this, we're still in the middle of COVID. Joey's in California. I'm in Southwest Illinois, just outside of St. Louis. We're getting ready to go on lockdown again for probably 4 to 5 weeks. Oregon's going on lockdown. This state's going on lockdown. California's got its own issues. So I think that looking ahead farther than maybe a year and a half is a little foolish. But look ahead a year. Right? Where does the industry, how does the industry get through this current, you know, challenge is what it is. And then what do we look like on the other side of it?
You know, I've not for 1 second felt like we wouldn't get through this at all. We've gotten busier because of it. We're blessed. But for me, when I look ahead, Tim, all I can think about, especially nowadays, is how do I be a better leader for the people that have chosen to come and join the DNA team? How do I make them happier? How do I do better for my clients? And how do I do better for the other consultants in our industry? I really am passionate about restoring the value proposition of the consulting industry in general. When I was not in the consulting industry for a stint there, I got to see a lot of other consulting companies' drawings, and I've worked with a lot of end users, and I really want to. I want to lead, but I want to help, and I can look back at my first 20 years, and I think I was not as good of a leader as I could have been. And for me, when you say the future, that's all I can think of. Leadership, be cool, help others, clients, competitors. I'm just here to work hard and keep doing this for as long as I can. And I really want to help. That's been my goal. I want to push the bar. I want to elevate our industry. You know, I want to teach others how to do what we're doing. And I've literally I've been on projects where there's multiple integrators or multiple consultants on it, and I've said, you know, don't worry, let me help you with that. Or, you know, hey, if you want, you know, you can borrow this. Or I want to see everybody be successful. And you try to please too many people, you end up pleasing nobody. I know that, but it's just.
But there's a difference between pleasing everyone and helping, right? There is a distinction there, right? You're not saying you're trying to be everybody's friend.
You're right. Wrong cliche.
Yeah.
So that's the future. I know we're going to get through the COVID thing. The industry might shake a little bit. Some names might come and go, but everybody will still be in the industry. And every integrator I know that's working on projects that we're working on, they're all trying to hire people right now. So, you know.
That'll be that. I like that. I like that as an ending. Thank you so much, Joey D'Angelo, newest member of the SCN Hall of Fame for 2020. Thank you, sir. And again, congratulations. How do people get a hold of you or DNA if they are so inclined?
It's the 2021 Hall of Fame.
Is it 2021? It was a 2021. Sorry, yes. I've been saying 2021.
You can Google or go to d'angeloconsultants.com. And there you have it.
There you have it. Joey D'Angelo from DNA, Joey D'Angelo and Associates. For us, for AVNation, go by our website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Find programs like this and a host of others, including our 2 weeklies, AV Week that looks at the commercial side and Resi Week that looks at the residential side. So all that and more at avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv.